How do you turn local content into an AI email newsletter that actually makes money? Well, in today's edition of AI Rabbit Holes, I'm happy to bring on Brian Skinner, who's going to share the playbook for launching and scaling a local newsletter with AI. So, first and foremost, Brian, thank you so much for hopping on this edition of AI Rabbit Holes.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, just do a quick background on kind of who you are and what you're working on. I know you have a lot of different AI projects going on in the background. So, why don't you just explain to the audience kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a coder. I've really been a solo founder for 14 years now. My primary business that takes most of the time is a kids coding tutoring company. So all one on one. And over the years, I've really pushed deeper into um, coding my own apps, and certainly in the last year or two with the AI explosion, really exploring all the tools
Vibe
and
coding
just
is all the
about
hype right now.
yes, exactly. And vibe coding for someone who doesn't know how to code is amazing, but just the unlocks that it can give you if you do know how to code, and just the time saving, and what's possible is unbelievable. But yeah, and then specifically, I think most of this conversation will be around the local newsletters. And just 5 months ago, I wrote my first local newsletter, and it's been kind of a rocket ship in this short amount of time, and really excited to see where it goes.
So let's start there, Brian. Why AI local newsletters, right? There's dozens, if not hundreds, of ways to make money with AI these days. Why should someone consider launching a local newsletter powered by AI?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for that, it's really why should you be a content creator? Why should you build a personal brand? Maybe is a better way to think of it. And there's any number of niches where you could pick, but um, everyone lives somewhere, and everyone is always just interested in what's going on in their backyard. So it's really something that anyone can do without being an expert on a certain topic. And I'd say, what really kind of made it click in my mind of, okay, why I should pursue this as opposed to, one of my many other interests is one, the customer acquisition cost is just unbelievable compared to other things. Like if you are writing a B2B newsletter, or you're, trying to sell a SaaS to a business,
Right.
you're paying, several dollars per email to join your email list or to try your free trial. Um, for a local newsletter on Facebook ads, you're getting people to join for under 50 cents. And just the feedback loop that's possible in terms of like, oh, how soon can I make that money back? When it's 50 cents, it's a whole lot easier. And you can feel like you have a real business extremely quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things to unpack here, right? There's growing the list, there's where you're pulling the content from, there's monetization. Let's start with each one of those pieces, kind of a little bit in more detail here. So, first and foremost, where are you pulling this local content from?
Yeah, the local content, I mean, I would say that shouldn't be like this blocker to getting started for you. um, there's in my area, it's kind of unique. We're not like one central city. We're this, stretch of 20,000 to 50,000 person little towns, and each, place is having their own um, events. So there's a few different websites that kind of aggregate this. Some of the big ones, even like Eventbrite, are useful.
Right.
Um,
Are you
and so
pulling them
even
in
if
RSS feeds through automations, or I guess how are you doing that at scale?
Good question. I mean, I think the thing to point out is that it's not hard to do manually.
Right.
To just kind of to do that. So like if don't let the automations hold you back from getting started. But yeah, I'd say even just like a Google search of what's going on in my city this weekend, Google pulls in the AI feature by default, and will kind of comb some of those sources for you. Um, same with uh, so yeah, you can send it a bunch of links and say, hey, or check this Eventbrite link, check this local website. Just kind of give it a list and send it to something like Deep Research, or OpenAI might just do that automatically for you, even if you don't select Deep Research. So there's a lot of things that I think are you know AI powered without being this full end to end content engine that you have to build out on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about growing the list. You mentioned paid Facebook ads. Is that kind of the primary driver you recommend of growing a list for a local AI newsletter?
It is, yeah, it's extremely effective, and that's also AI enabled that you get the benefit of it without needing to you know figure out that logic on your own. But it's extremely effective at targeting the right local people who are likely to sign up. And Yeah, I'd say it's also never been easier, just in terms of like creating the ad copy, um, you know, the images, anything like that, the videos. Uh, it's it doesn't have to be too complicated for it to get subscribers for under 50 cents each.
Is there any ways organically that you recommend building a local newsletter, or is just we should just go 100% paid?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say there's a few places that people hang out locally that you kind of want to also occasionally let them know about your newsletter. Again, it might not have to be this automated thing, because you don't want to like spam those sources. For example, Reddit is a good one. Most cities have their own Reddit. And you might just kind of post your newsletter every once in a while, or something that you find interesting there. Same with various Facebook groups. Usually there's a lot of options for your local area for Facebook groups, and not all of them are good, but every once in a while, throw in a link in there. um, I'd say those are a couple of the main ones. And then um, Instagram is huge too. I'm sure we'll talk more about that as well. But I think at the same time of thinking of it as this email list, you also want to be growing your Instagram account, because
Right.
that's sort of this public number of your reach, and people really respect the follower count that you're able to build there.
Yeah, same applies to YouTube, TikTok. I mean, you could throw that thing across the board across
Mhm.
social platforms. Let's talk about actually monetizing this thing. I would imagine it's sponsorships from local businesses. Maybe there's some other monetization opportunities I'm not fully aware of. Talk about your monetization strategies with this local newsletter.
That's right. Yeah, I really got into it thinking from the long term view of like, I don't necessarily know where this goes. It might be like this avenue to launch a local business, or so uh, that's kind of to be determined. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm really trying to make back that money. Say I invested $2,000 to get this going. I'm pretty much at you know that break even point by selling a few ads. So uh, my goal is to find these local businesses who might want to reach our audience, um, let them know about us and our ad rates. And the primary, or I'd say the most effective thing for that so far has been some cold. I guess you might not consider it cold, some sort of warm outreach to our Instagram followers, because um, if they already know about us, if they follow us, then uh, when we send a DM to them on Instagram, it goes straight to their inbox. Usually, that inbox is monitored by either a decision maker, head of marketing, or someone who would be the right person to see an opportunity to advertise. So I found that's a wonderful channel. I mean, we're getting probably over 20% replies on those messages, which, if you think about scraping a list from Google Maps of all the businesses, you might get and sending them a cold email, you might get a 1% reply rate. So just completely, order of magnitude different. It seems like it's really effective.
And this could be something that local businesses could probably replicate for their own marketing strategy. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Oh, that's right. I mean, I think it's really untapped. I mean, and so this is one of the ways I've been using AI. I kind of worked with one of these scraper APIs and
Yeah, I
got the
mean, let's get tactical here. Let's explore what you're doing here.
yeah, basically I got my full list of followers, which is I think 3,400 right now, using a scraper API. So um, and then took that spreadsheet, fed it into OpenAI, said, okay, let's categorize these. Which ones are businesses? Which ones are, potential advertisers or higher priority? And just kind of had this analysis of here's your potential leads. Um, Instagram really locks down. You shouldn't use automation to send direct messages.
Right.
They don't allow any tools to do that. I know you can probably do some with like browser automation, but I'm really thinking of it as okay, if I want to send 5 to 10 a day, the hardest part is the personalization of the message. And then it's just a couple clicks to really copy and paste that message in there. So I'm not worrying about those couple clicks in terms of like this end-to-end automation, but how can I personalize it to this company, to this person? Go look up the founder's name, go, if they have to do with interior decorating, architecture, something around the home, even home services like a plumber, say we have 67% homeowners on our list. So just kind of, tailor the stats a little bit to them. And if you can, yeah, AI is great at customizing these messages. And it takes a few minutes to send them out.
For sure. And I didn't ask how old you are, but I know the generation before us was mostly ingrained on local media through TV and radio. Do you see local newsletters kind of replacing that medium?
That's a good question. Um,
This was one
I'd
I
say,
just
yeah,
thought off the cuff for sure. Cause like
yeah,
the
the
more we're
younger
talking
generation,
about,
yeah, I
yeah,
think you're right. They get more info from YouTube and they trust, this personality a little bit more. So I'd say, overall, the channel might not matter as much as the change from this like Walter Cronkite speaks to the whole nation,
right.
everyone watches, the news to it's much more fragmented. You have this person that you follow and trust. And I'd say that's why, building your personal brand is important. And then it's probably also somewhat urgent um, because it these channels are getting a little more saturated as it becomes easier with these tools, with this, AI content. Um, it's gonna be harder to build a brand next year than it is this year. I think we've seen that across a number of these social networks, things like podcasts. I mean, it used to be if you had a podcast that was notable and you instantly, it just had some listeners. And now it's, a very oversaturated channel. And so, yeah, I'd say the channel doesn't maybe matter quite as much as just starting to build your following and generate that trust.
I would assume you're using Beehive, right, as your platform. I think I saw you mention that a few times. So is this process that you're doing now just mostly hands off and it's on autopilot? Or I guess how much time are you spending on this whole thing?
Yeah, good question. So what it looks like today, I have it started with pretty much thinking of this as events. I want people to know about what are the events, what are the things to do in the community, especially on the weekend. So on Wednesday, I send an email that's like, here's all the events that are going on. I spend a good amount of time trying to make it kind of conversational, like, oh, this is me talking to someone. It's not just AI list of events. So even though AI might help me find the events, might get the links in there, um, I'm still at this point doing a lot of that more like writing. And I think things like just that make it apparent that, okay, this is someone from your actual community who's producing this is important. So that might be throwing in a meme about a certain joke about
Right.
this type of person who lives over here, or that might be um, kind of describing like, oh, this is over by that park that everyone knows. I don't know, just little things that wouldn't be what AI would how would
Yeah,
it
yeah,
would
yeah.
describe the event.
You gotta personalize a little bit to build trust with the audience, no doubt about that. I wanna wrap up
Yeah.
this conversation a little bit about AI local newsletters, and here's my concluding question to you, Brian. Do you see this type of, way to make money with AI becoming saturated? Do you think a lot of people are gonna start doing local newsletters? Now, obviously, there's, hundreds or thousands of different cities that you could apply this to. What are your thoughts holistically on this whole business model of AI local newsletters long term?
Yeah, good question. Let me come back to that because there was one more thing I wanted to mention
Okay, yeah, go for it.
on the content too.
Yeah.
So on Mondays, I started doing a history section, which people really enjoy. It really connects them to the community, and that's all OpenAI deep research. So I kind of had it list this big potential topics document, whether I pull from those topics or whether I, say, hey, what's the deal with this street name or this town name? Who's it named after? And it will, do an incredible job giving me all those background facts. Um, so that's another thing that I think is really uh, a great opportunity for people to start making that type of content in their local area. Um, but yeah, I guess to kind of wrap and as you said, what's the big picture? Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for people to pursue being the local thought leader. Um, Events in particular, again, is a great way to start just because it's so easy to get someone to sign up. And, you know, even if you're a realtor, you're not trying to make this, local media empire or trying to make money back through ads, but
Right.
you can kind of get your face out there, be the trusted person in your community. I just see so much opportunity for that. And that might not be this kind of end to end thing that I'm doing that has multiple emails per week, but it could be just bare minimum. Use some AI tools to curate, here's the list of events that are going on this weekend, and even just put that out through Instagram. Um, that could be huge. So yeah, I'd say it's a really great opportunity that I think will, it will be harder as if someone's already doing that in your area. It becomes harder for that next person. So it's an opportunity right now. Go get started. Don't overcomplicate it. Um, and you can build out these workflows and these automations over time.
Yeah, and people resonate a lot more with local content too versus national content. People love their
Yeah,
local content, especially in the Midwest. I've noticed for sure that's a huge driver. So
yeah,
now we're going to shift over, Brian, to my rapid fire AI questions. Right, these are just questions that I ask all guests that come on AI rabbit holes. You're very well versed in the AI space, so I just like to hear your takes on all of these. So the very first one that I have for you is what's your next big AI prediction in the next probably 6 to 12 months? If you had to just come up with some prediction that you have.
yeah. 6 to 12 months is a little tough. I think the models keep getting better, the tools keep getting better. I don't know that the adoption changes a lot in 6 to 12 months, but I think we start to see like, okay, if the tools that are coming out today will be fully adopted 6 months from now. And just like the video generation tools, the audio, I think the each channel gets a little more saturated, gets a little more content that's AI generated. So, I'd say what changes is that the opportunity and um, the audience building just gets a little bit harder over time.
I completely agree with that. I don't think this will happen in 6 to 12 months, but I always like when people ask me this question, my big prediction is at some point in the next 2, 3, 5 years, maybe before that, we're going to go through an AI inflection point where the average person doesn't know if something's real or AI. And I think there's a lot of me and you already are in that phase, right? A lot of people we know are in that phase, but I'm thinking of the average people who those who are 40, 50, 60 and above, they don't even know this type of technology exists yet with deep fakes and audio. So it's like that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's people who are taking advantage of that too. I mean, the particularly on Facebook, there's kind of the older generation maybe who's on there. Um,
Did you see that, Brian? I can't believe he said that, right? Yeah,
yeah, but that content that they don't realize it's AI is doing extremely well.
I
um,
know.
so I think on other platforms, people realize it a bit more, but it still does well, and you see these trends.
We're such an echo chamber on X too. That's like where the hub is of all the AI updates and everything.
Right.
Um, Next question I have for you in this rapid fire AI questions. What's your hot take on AI if you had to just give one?
I mean, I think it changes everything. I think, long term, it's just this incredible unlock for humanity. So short term, I think is a little messy. We're in this, kind of place with content and what we're talking about here, but I think, um, you know, it unlocks science in the long term and just more real world AI, whether that's the self driving cars that feel like they've been so close for a long time, but they're actually here now. Who've been to San Francisco and ridden in one,
Oh, I bet.
um, and people don't realize that. And just like a year from now, the rollout of these is going to make it's going to change quite a bit. If you have a self-driving car that can pick you up, or you own a self-driving car, maybe you're willing to live farther away. Maybe it just kind of changes how our communities are built. But humanoid robots, maybe 5 years out. But I'm excited about a lot of the science unlocks. Health, I think, has been there hasn't been a lot of progress. It's been a disappointing area.
For sure.
Um,
A lot of regulations. And I feel like those industries that are heavily regulated, we're not going to see a lot of things down the road.
yeah, but I think we're starting to see it. I mean, I think there's a lot of innovation in peptides that, again, if you follow it on X, you're like, wow, this is happening. If and no one knows about it, they might know about Ozempic, but there's also these 10 other things that are just as promising, and are helping people. It's just a matter of like getting that through the approvals and getting that awareness out there.
For sure. The last question I had on this rapid fire AI question, do you think AI is more overhyped right now in general or undervalued?
I mean, I think, if people are saying it's overhyped on like the year time span. Like I was saying, like you asked about 6 to 12 months, not a lot changes. The adoption is a little slow. The technology advancements are extremely
Like Moore's
fast.
law times 1,000, bro.
Yeah, so it's moving fast. It's just, the awareness, the adoption of it lags behind a little bit. So, I think 5 years from now, if you were to look back, you'd be like, yeah, we underestimated it. So just on the, 5, 10 year time span, I think it really becomes obvious.
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of sector and media too. Like the famous one is AI video, the Will Smith eating spaghetti where all his like hands are
Yeah.
morphed and everything's morphed. And now we have VO3 where it's hard to distinguish what's real versus what's an AI generated video. That's crazy if you just look at AI video.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an area I've been looking at a lot. I mean, I kind of through my Instagram, and again, this lens, the local newsletter, it's like, how do we build trust? It's kind of getting your face out there a little bit more. So I've been really playing around with um, some of these video tools, and specifically like, how do we identify these videos that are working, but then kind of add your own twist to it, get your face on top of the video, like you'll see, some of the CapCut editing. Um, so that's another area that you know I've been thinking about, not so much as generating the videos, which is currently here right now, but um, how do you use this to get your face out there more, build that personal connection? And I think that's what people should be going for.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, this has been fun as we conclude this edition of AI Rabbit Holes. Are there any other, AI projects that you're working on besides this local AI newsletter? You mentioned this video thing. What else do you got going on in the background?
Yeah, I do a lot, but the main projects right now, I am doing some consulting on lead gen and specifically AI, and including this Instagram follower outreach. So if you want to discuss any of that, it's on twistai.com.
What's AI? Perfect.
You can reach out to me there. But then the main kind of product or SaaS that I'm working on is around um, videos, and that's on yapover.com. A few different tools for that. One is, how do you take a video, add your floating head on top without doing any editing. So that feature is live. Check it out. You can create free videos, a few per month, if you want to give it a try. But other local, specific tools are coming, that I think will help people build their following, and build that trust and connection.
Awesome. Well, where can people follow you online, Brian, to learn more about what you're working on?
Yeah, X. I'm Brian M. Skinner, Skinner. You can reach out to me there as well.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much again for your time, for joining this episode of AI Rabbit Holes. And thank you to everyone again for listening or watching. Be sure to tune in again next time where we'll dive into yet another rabbit hole of artificial intelligence.